Welcome to Throwdown Studios. We're here in the heart of Sydney to talk about the Oceanic teams as they head to the regional championship that's being held at PAX Australia in less than 2 weeks. Curia.
On a Sunday.
On a Sunday. It's 11 a.m. AEDT. But there are 4 teams that have been confirmed. We just finished week 5 of league play. And oh, what a week it was.
It was exciting, especially the last week of league play. I love that we went in with OCE being so tight that we didn't know how it was all going to fall. And even the last game decided who would pull one of those top 4 seeds.
Yeah, it wasn't decided until the very end. It was a great moment. But we did, I think, have 4 teams that we really expected to go in coming into that last week.
Yep.
Maybe not, though, teams that we expected coming in at the beginning of the season, because our first team through in the number 4 seed position, Silla eSports.
Yeah, and they're a team that's always struggled to make that RLCS at the end.
Yeah.
But they're a team that sits comfortably in league play. So I want to see if they can just reach that little bit further, not have their dreams crushed like last season.
Yeah, last OCE championship. They were the team that went Game 7 overtime against what was Alpha Sydney at that point, and then they went to Game 7 against Jam Gaming. So they were so close to RLCS last time. They've changed up their roster a little bit, so they have Adzi, they have Dumbo, and they have Kira, who used to be Snarf. And they've got a really good shot because just this week they took down Chiefs 3-2 in what was a real surprise upset and a big showing, considering they took down Pale Horse as well.
And they're 2 of the teams that also got through. So you have Chiefs and Pale are 2 of the teams that are going through for this LAN final. So if you can beat 2 of those pretty comfortably, you're in a good spot.
They've basically, if they can perform as well on LAN as they have done in league play, then they're going to go through. But, of course, we all know that LAN is a very different beast. That is our number 4 team. Dumbo is going to be leading them from the front, the experienced front runner there, and he's really stepped up in the final week of league play, so I think he's going to step up at LAN as well.
I think Adzi stepped up really well as well. They swapped him out. He's the new player that was added to their roster between the seasons, and we're all a little bit worried on the desk, you know, like such a strong, powerful team swapping out for a new player who doesn't have that league play experience yet. But I think, especially today, we saw a great showcase of what he brings there, and they performed and they made it.
Yeah, they've grown over the season and they have 2 more weeks to grow before they reach PAX. But that does get into the other 3 teams, starting, of course, with Pale Horse, who in the off-season just came out of nowhere. They were not a team that any of us knew about, and only one person, Kami, had ever even played in the OCE Championship before.
Yeah, he was from Masterminds, and they came in 8th with the last league play. They weren't a strong team by any measure, but he went from coming in just scraping the league play to top of the ladder, one of the spotlighted players that we had. He's a monster.
He's easily top 3 players in OCE. He could be even contending for the best player in OCE right now.
Yep. And
he's that real solid anchor, as you Americans would like to call it, that really holds the team together. Always performs. He's got the 2nd highest score per game across the entire season. But these guys have played fast. They've come out of nowhere. They've made it into top 3. But they've also had some weaknesses that we saw. In particular, they took a loss to Silla eSports and Chiefs eSports, and they were both teams that I think they could have beaten.
And they're both teams that they're going to be versing in the upcoming weeks as well. And Silla and Pale both have very similar play styles. So when push comes to shove, the way they match up is going to be critical in determining who goes forward, because I'd be shocked to see both.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough for them. CJ and Kia, well, all of them really, they haven't had a lot of LAN experience. And that's my big question around them, because outside of that, it's always a toss-up. Top 3 between Pale Horse, Chiefs, and Jam. So if it was online, I'd be like, yes, Pale Horse are going to RLCS.
Yep.
But the big question is whether they can perform under the pressure.
I think the matchups will be important as well. Depending how they fall, not in the first round, but second round will be a big decider in who goes forward.
First round, they have their big opponent, which is Chiefs Esports Club formerly Alpha Sydney last season, so they're returning from the international stage. With Drippe, Torsos, and Jake, they're the only roster that really has stayed the same since last season. And what a first-round matchup. Chiefs beat them in league play.
Yep.
They've looked really strong. And even Torsos, if Kami's in contention, the person that potentially beats Kami right now as the best player in OCE is Torsos.
And I love that he's a keyboard player as well. The fact that he's like the only one that we're pushing forward going into the LAN as the best player is the only keyboard player.
I hope that's not a statement about OCE, but I don't think it is. He is a fantastic player. He's really, really pulled two other fantastic players, Drippe and Shake, who have even grown over this season. But the fact that he is shining in front of them is a huge statement about the power and efficiency of Torsos, especially in the forward half where he's got so many goals this season. And I know that Chiefs, they love being LAN. They've been to the most LANs out of any team in OCE, and they're a stark contrast to Pale Horse. They're the longest running trio. They've been to all the LANs. Pale Horse is the opposite. So Chiefs are in a really good spot despite coming in as a second seed.
And Chiefs always performs at LANs. Even if they're struggling online for a period of time, when they finally get to being there in person, they always step up to the plate and do an amazing job. But for Pale, again, we just don't know how they're going to perform when they have 20,000 eyes just all staring straight down the barrel of the gun.
Yeah, their one LAN performance, they did come second, so that's a great sign for Pale Horse. But, of course, this is the big stage.
Yeah.
This is RLCS, and despite the $25,000 that these players can win, they want to go international, they want to prove themselves, and they're going to have to go up against G2 if they make it as well, which we'll talk about a little bit. And our number one seed, I guess maybe not a surprise this season, knowing how they were coming in really strong. But if we looked at last season with Jam Gaming as our number one seed, well, they weren't even the favourites to make it to RLCS. Now with their international experience and with Shady on the team, they look so good.
Yeah, they had a roster swap out. They removed Bango and added in Shady, and that was a good pickup as well. Shady was on one of those teams that was sitting around the top 4, but his swap over into Jam, it just made a night and day difference for them. They've gone from, they're a team that will probably make top 2 to there's no way that these aren't the top 2, one of the top 2 teams, and maybe even the top. Yeah,
Shady's really, really picked up. He went from a player who was, decent last season, with his last team, Avant Gaming, won more in the last OCE Championship. But now he's one of the best player, if not the best player on Jam. And he's really, really helped out that team. They're a team that can really take it internationally. But
before
we've got 4 fantastic teams. There's not anyone right now that I would pick, they're going to come last place at LAN. All of them can do really well. So this is probably the most exciting regional championship I could think of. But who do you have taking out the top 2 spots?
For me, it's really hard. So I'm going to put Chiefs forward as one of them. But I'm not comfortable with the rest of the other 3. I think it'll all fall down to where they go on the day after the first round. So I think Pale Horse will pretty comfortably beat Jam if they get put up against them in the lower bracket, and I think that is a thing that could definitely happen. Pale has a 100% win rate with their core roster against Jam. But similarly, if Scylla goes against Pale, I think Pale's in trouble. There's like a weird triangle of death situation where it really matters who gets knocked down to the lower bracket by who to determine where it's going to go forward.
Yeah, I think if Chiefs get knocked out in the first round, that's their loss scenario, because I think it's also a solid chance for Jam Gaming to beat Scylla. Which means that Scylla are in a good spot to beat Chiefs. That's what they've done in league play, and it's been a bit of a history between those 2 teams. But I have to give it to Chiefs, and I have to give it to Jam as well, because I think just based on experience, they're going to perform slightly better on that live stage.
I think that's a fair thing, because we do have Pale Horse as the only one of the 4 teams that doesn't have that serious LAN experience. We know that Scylla can step up and they can beat Chiefs, which is kind of the big guys to beat, and they can also beat Jam as well, and they have just come off the win against Pale. But I think that's a very fair assessment. I wouldn't be surprised if the international teams that we sent last time, they're coming straight back.
It's a bit of a shame for Scylla, because they're going to have to go up against Jam in the first round.
Rough.
And that's their worst opponents, I think. If they were happy, they'd be happy to be going up against Pale and Chiefs. two teams that they can usually outpace.
Yeah.
But Gem is going to be a tough run for them. It's going to be a shoot-up. I can't wait for it. Hopefully see you guys all there watching. Again, it is 11 a.m. AED Sunday, the 29th of October, or for you Americans, 5 p.m. on the Saturday, the 28th, right after the NA RLCS promo match.